Teach us to pray. Teach us to communicate.
I am so thankful to God for everything that He has done in the lives of those around me, the lives of the people here at Tanner, and my own personal life. I'm just so thankful and thankful for Mom, Dad, Ashaya, Shania, cousins, family, friends, the Tanner family. You guys are my village. I'm grateful for Pastor Thomas. Thank you for everything you've done. I don't want to go too far, too deep. I only got 12 minutes, but I feel like that entire 12 minutes with just thanks. So just know that I am to bring a message with clear intentions. And so if you've heard me preach, you know that I really enjoy the act of setting an intention before I actually move into the message. This is actually a practice that I go to yoga once a week. Right, and this is a practice that I've learned and something that I found really interesting, because when you're about to go into the flow and the movements of yoga, the guy that's there, the teacher, right, that's teaching you these stretches and these poses, they want to make sure that your intention is set. And so as we move and flow into this message, I want to make sure that the intention is set. I want you to chase discipline in order to endure. That's the intention that I want to set, and I don't want to be a blockage in your blessing. So if that is not what is on your heart, I do ask that you take what you need from this message and apply it to your life in the way that you need to. So keep this in mind as we use the scripture of Mark chapter 14, verses 32 and on. Before I get into it, I actually want to use this scripture to paint two different pictures. The first picture, I really want you guys to analyze how Jesus approached discipline in order to endure the trials and the tribulations that life may throw at you. The second picture that I want to paint is how the disciples, in their lack of discipline, actually ended up being the thing that caused disappointment and frustration in the lives of the people that were around them. So verse 32 reads, they went to a place called I can never get it. There you go. Thank you. And Jesus said to his disciples, sit here while I pray. He took Peter, James, and John along with him, and he began to be deeply distressed and deeply troubled. My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. This is Jesus speaking. My soul is overwhelmed with the sorrow to the point of death, he said. Stay here and keep watch. Going a little farther, he fell to the ground and prayed that if possible, the hour might pass from him, and those feelings that he was feeling, the distress that he was feeling, would be mitigated. I want to now take this moment to highlight a few things. I want you to analyze the situation that we have here. You see, Jesus actually realized that he was in a valley, right, of emotional state. He was stressed, he was distressed, and he was experiencing sorrow. He even realized that these feelings, through proper discipline of getting on his knees and praying, that these feelings and these thoughts can be mitigated. As he had many times before this moment, Jesus knew, by recognizing and being able to analyze the state in which he was in, that there was only one true God who could heal him from these feelings. He realized that the emotions and the thoughts in which he was experiencing were not the description of who Jesus is. They were solely a separate thing that he was just simply experiencing. But there is nowhere that actually mentions that these emotions and these feelings are definitive in defining who Jesus is. And so as you move through your life, I want to ask you that you adopt a similar approach. These feelings and these emotions that you experience when you are going through you're going through hard times, they do not define who you are. I promise you, you are not lazy. I promise you, you are not weak. I promise you, you are not broken. I promise that these feelings and these emotions that you're experiencing, they are not of you. When you begin to separate these emotions and these feelings that life's unruly circumstances push upon you, I want you to acknowledge, or I want you to recognize that these emotions that are happening around you can actually be dealt with. They can be acknowledged. They can be managed, right? And by doing so, and by actually flipping on that switch and realizing that they can be handled, will life become significantly more endurable. But you must ask, how do we do this, AJ? How do we do this, Sway? And my answer for you, it might be a cuss word to some, but it's discipline. Through constant practice of being still, through constant practice of praying and meditating, I am a walking testimony of the miraculous and just the wonderful things that can come of this. And it's a very elementary way of describing it, but it's the only way that I can actually describe it. You see, when you begin to be disciplined in your practice of those before-mentioned things, you end up in a sort of, it's like a movie theater almost. You're sitting in this chair that is the peace of God, and you're watching different scenes of emotions of life just going across the screen. And the beautiful thing is when you realize that none of that is real. You are in the seat of peace that God has for you. And that what is happening around you is not actually you inside of the movie, but the movie being played out in front of you as you sit in your seat. So I want nothing more than peace, of course, for each and every one of you guys. And so I plead that you chase discipline in order to endure the race. So we see this example of Jesus, right? He knew that he was going through life's trials and tribulations, and he knew what to do through discipline, right? But I want to showcase the opposite of that. What happens when you have lack of discipline? Jesus continued, Abba, Father, he said, everything is possible for you. Take this cup from me, yet not what I will, but what you will. Then he returned to his disciples and he found them sleeping. He said to Peter, are you asleep? Like really, like picture this, right? Couldn't you keep watch for only an hour? And I just laughed, and I have to consistently laugh as I was studying this, because could you just imagine, like Jesus in his robes, in his gown, or whatever he may have been wearing, in his beard, right? Going through and performing miracles days before, grinding it out, right? Just like doing the thing and putting his team on his back, right? Could you imagine that if the moment he started feeling these feelings of sorrow and distress, and he just asked his disciples, he's like, yo, I need to pray this one off a little bit. So can you please just keep watch for me? And for him to come back in your sleep? Crazy. But that's not even the crazy part, because once more he went away and prayed the same thing. And when he came back, he again found them sleeping. They did not know what to say to him. And returning a third time, he said to them, 3 times. 3 times Jesus came back within the hour to check in if they were sleeping, and they were sleeping. And so he said, are you still sleeping and resting? Enough! The hour has come. And so I plead to you guys, as we enter this season of Lent, don't let your hour come by in your sleep, right? As you're experiencing the trials and tribulations that come with declaring, I want to quit this for Lent, or I want to add this for Lent, I really just want to ask that as you try and better your life, as you try and better the connection that you have with God, that you chase discipline so that you